It's time again for, I guess, is this the first or the second 40K Fanatics podcast of 2025?
I believe this is our second.
Oh, look at us. Look at us. Welcome to 2025, everybody, for a second time. I think this is the first one we're recording in 2025, so it feels funny because, you know, the warp is strange and time is a man-made construct.
Time is relative.
That's right. Relative to what? Not me. That ain't my cuz. We've got plenty to cover today, and something you wanted to cover, Austin, is the miniature of the year. We talked about it briefly last pod, but you wanted to get into it. We both suspect that this is not something done by vote, as it is claimed to be, but just a curated list of things GW wants to show us.
It's very astroturfed or astrogranite, as we know for Games Workshop.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because some of these don't make any sense. But we wanted to talk about kind of the winners. We're going to go through them pretty quick. You want to lead this thing? I've got it pulled up here on WarhammerCommunity.com.
Oh, yeah, I can do it. So they have each game divided this year. They got 40K, and they got Age of Sigmar, and they have the rest. So now other games kind of get a chance to shine besides each year being the new Primarch, the new whatever Sigmar has. They're kind of branching out, so now other things get a chance to shine.
I like it.
But for 40K, it looks like first place is the Night Lord's Nemisis Claw. New Night Lords.
Their Night Lords look subjectively better than mine. Let's be real, they look much better than mine. But I quite enjoy mine, and I'm not mad at this. I think anytime they do special weapons, shoulder pads, heads, it's a good day.
Yeah. I kind of thought this was a little bit of a cop-out because it's miniature of the year, not miniatures of the year.
I think the one with the with the guy on the front of the Chaos staff is, I mean, he could carry the water for the whole thing. He's awesome.
Yeah,
I had so much fun painting him. I gave him a different head than they've got on here. I gave him one with wings because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think the only one that I don't exactly care for is the guy with the poison blade.
He looks better in person. Because I've got him built. So what I did with this is I built all the specialty guys, and you know, if I was going to play Kill Team with it, I think I do have 6 of them, and I think you need 5, maybe you might need 6. I'm not sure, but I've got enough of them to do it. But you end up with like some generic guys, at which point I would probably just plug in a regular old legionary with whatever, you know, the option for Kill Team warriors, as they call them, are just, you know, either bolt gun or chainsword. So
yeah,
I've got all the other specialties accounted for, though, which strangely are not all. Well, are they? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I don't think I can't think of what all they are because I built them a month ago. But I think there's a couple of specialties that are missing, and we're taking way too much time with this.
Also, I want to end with another thing with the cop-out is that this is a kit that's an upgrade to the existing Legionaries kit for Chaos Space Marines. That also adds a little bit of a, I don't know, sour taste, but just kind of there's some other things that are more original.
I agree. I could see that this is probably something that actually did win the vote, however, because people love their Night Lords, and this is a really good-looking kit. And like I say, I think anytime they do these kind of upgrade sprue things, it's a good day. We're about to see that, I suspect, with the Noise Marines and things, and, you know, I think this is a really good way that GW has come up with to get a lot of mileage out of otherwise monopose Marine kits, and I would like to see more of them across the board.
Yeah. You want to move to Sigmar?
Let's move to Sigmar.
Okay, for Sigmar, we have for first place miniature of the year is Ushoran, Mortarch of Delusion.
This guy's incredible. No two ways about it. He's absolutely
massive Ghoul King.
Yeah, he's great. I'm surprised that we did not see more of him in this year's Golden Demon. Perhaps, you know, he came out, middle of the year? Perhaps we will see him next year as Golden Demon fodder. because he's that kind of model. He's already on a ridiculous, tactical staircase, and he's just begging to be part of a giant diorama with all sorts of death and destruction all around. I mean,
Oh yeah, his cloak's amazing.
GW
the paint
painted
job,
yeah. They
like a
painted
bunch
the
of wet
mess out of
blending
it.
going on, and it was hard to see from the photo they have, but like I've seen the back of them, and they've got a lot of transitioning going on.
I had never noticed all these faces in his cloak.
Yeah,
like up in his fur. He's incredible. No complaints there.
and then for the rest is the Lich Priest on Necrolith Bone Dragon for the Old World.
I feel like this here is just, hey, remember we did Old World in 2024. This one feels like it was a curated placement. I mean, the Bone Dragon's cool.
I don't much care for the Bone Dragon, to be honest. I know we weren't going to talk about the other placements, but second place for the rest, best of the rest, is Lady Elise Ducard for also the Old World, the Bretonnian priestess on a unicorn.
She's way better than the Bone Dragon.
I think that she should. That's who I voted for. I think she should have gotten Miniature of the Year because it's a much more interesting miniature. The Bone Dragon to me is too busy. There's too much stuff going on with it.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no real focal point to look at.
I think that the Old World release, which came out as Tomb Kings and Bretonnians, got a lot of buzz at the beginning of the year, and this here is a reminder, like, hey, you remember that thing that you possibly bought and didn't build? Go ahead and build it and buy some more stuff, or buy these Old World starter boxes that we have now got back in stock.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, the 5th place Best of the Rest Alpha Legion Saboteur console. I mean, that's just... That
a Marine.
Yeah, that's just a Marine. That is just GW saying, "Hey, we have 30K too." But that is the Miniature of the Year 2024 covered at least a little bit.
Yeah.
By your 40K fanatics. I've got a couple of news things. Well, let's go ahead and open the Vox channel real fast. When we open the Vox channel, that is the time where we read your comments from previous pods. This comment comes from YouTube, which also around Christmas and New Year's we're a little thin on comments, so I encourage you guys to go on the YouTube, go on X, go on Spotify, and leave your comment so that we can read it on the show. This one comes from Craig, the homie Craig, on the video 2024 Warhammer recap, where we talked about things that happened in the hobby to us around the hobby that we found to be the biggest deal. And of course, we made it a top 3 list. And Craig's was the Return of the Death Watch was certainly the high point of the year for me. He plays a lot of Death Watch, and the Death Watch were taken from him, snatched from his grasp at the moment of their glory upon the Codex release Imperial Agents. And for like a couple of months, they had been, unplayable, relegated to legends and all of that stuff that the internet likes to, sound the death toll upon.
You gotta burn your armies.
Yeah, you gotta light them on fire, right? That's what you do. You make a TikTok of you burning your stuff that got legend, because everybody knows that you cannot play legends under any circumstance whatsoever. Oh, wait, they came back.
Ta-da.
They're back as part of the Grotmus release, and I'm happy for Craig. He did play Death Watch via Imperial Agents against me once, and absolutely mopped the floor with my poor boys. So,
wow.
Yeah, rumors of their demise had been somewhat exaggerated in the first place, but now they're back in force. So Craig's happy and good for him, but that's all we've got on the Vox channel this week. Once again, I want you guys to get in there and comment on whatever pod you're listening to so that we can have stuff to talk about, because the yoke of content weighs heavy upon our shoulders.
Tell us anything on your mind, just put it right down there. We don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. We'll read it too.
Tell us how much you hate us.
Oh, especially those. I love
if you
the
dislike
salt.
this video, say something about it.
Yeah, if you dislike it, let us know why. Is it because we have stupid faces? I want to talk about the new Gundam game that has been announced.
We've been talking about that, but I have no idea which game you're talking about.
It's called Gundam Assemble. It's by Bandai Namco, which is a bit of a, it's a little bit, mileage varies with them on games. Especially, I'm looking at video games. I don't know if we've had a good Gundam video game. We've had very few good Dragon Ball Z games, and there have been a lot of attempts. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any that are good, but on the average, it's hit or miss. They're very much with their IPs the same as GW was pre-Space Marine, where they were just letting whoever make whatever game, and you didn't know what you were getting. But it says 40K on it, that kind of thing. But this is such a no-brainer as a miniatures game experience. It's Gundam from every era that you can imagine, played on a hex grid. They're calling them, what are they calling them? They're calling them like 5 centimeter scale or something, which is about 2 inches, I think, or they're something like that. They're like 2 inches tall. My question is, how long will it take for somebody to just scale this thing up so you can use your full-size Gundam models to play it? Because that would be the move.
So Gundams are a bit outside of my purview. I've never been much of a giant robot guy. What differentiates this from BattleTech?
They have shown what the models look like. And BattleTech models look like somebody made a mud pie rendition of a stompy robot. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, get at me, BattleTech folks. Your stuff looks terrible. How are you going to have square-edged stompy robots and not have a single edge on these models? They're impossible to paint. They do not look good. They look like blobs of clay. It's sad. I understand they're cheap, and you can tell. The Gundam models are going to be on sprue. We know that Gunpla model kits are known for their excellence, their precision in engineering. I don't think that that's going to be a problem whatsoever for this game. The ones that we've seen, they look super detailed, super crispy. They're going to paint up incredibly. People are going to do all this cell shading on them. It's going to be amazing. And I hope the gameplay's good. From the shots that we've seen, which all we've seen are still shots, it looks like it's on a flat hex grid with no terrain or anything. So hopefully that's just a little starter set kind of thing. And what we want is basically BattleTech with Gundam, with a lot of customization, so that you can get your Gunpla on, get your kit bashing on, and then also have your sort of the hits from the shows that which for me are just all the Gundam Wing dudes, and that will be perfect.
I'm glad you're getting a game right up your alley.
Yeah, no, and it's not just up my alley. I think this could be a gateway drug for many, many people that are into hobbying in a way to then get them into 40K, because invariably, once you get a little bit of that tabletop wargaming sauce, you're going to want more. And then where are you going to go? Where
Probably
are you going to go?
The biggest miniature manufacturer ever, Games Workshop.
The biggest game in the world. Yeah. Let's open up the bits box, because I've got quite a bit there. The bits box is a part of the show where we tell you about what we've done in the hobby in the last week. Austin, have you done any hobbying this week?
I have.
Oh my God.
I know, we're getting that ball rolling again. I've got the Marauder Giant I'm currently painting up. Actually, just got back from the game store buying some more paint for it. I needed some more yellow paint. Marauder Giant, he's a miniature from the early 90s, maybe late 80s. One of the Marauder lines, which was I think it was like a sister line to Citadel. And it is a massive hunk of metal, very heavy. Came in like 5 parts that had to be glued together, super glue. I don't want to drop him. He'll probably break the floor before he shatters. Yeah, I'm doing like a patchwork little tunic on him. Got his hair and eyebrows painted up. Working on the skin, I am experimenting. I've always been scared of doing flesh layers and tones and all that. So I'm trying to experiment with like not necessarily shading, but layering up the flesh from like a peach up to more of a lighter tone. Trying to get those muscle definitions in there. But I think he's turning out pretty good.
So talking about doing that flesh like that segues well into something that I've done. I've painted 2 Judge Dredd judges, specialist judges they're called, from the Judge Dredd miniatures game by Warlord Games, who also are very active on X. Like they will like and comment on anything you post if you tag them, and it's something they sell, guys. So go get your shine on. I did a Psi judge who is a psychic judge. It has some sort of mind powers. And I went full ballsack on his face. I mean, not the entire model, but especially his face. And you'll be able to see these, hopefully, in the video, and also over on X for Whip Wednesdays. So what I did, what I find is working really well for all sorts of painting of skin, and this is where it tags onto your giant painting. You want to go way, way, way darker than you think on that first layer. Yeah. So you want to base coat that guy like as if you were gonna do African American, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that dark, but my giant looked like he had like just stepped off like a beach with a suntan or something. He was like awful peach, like real dark pink kind of.
Yeah. The darker you go, the better, because then when you hit that mid-tone, what happens is you end up popping up. If you're going to do like 3 colors, you end up popping up to very, very pale before you know it. Otherwise, what you get is what they call like islanding, where your sort of creases and things are a little too wide. And it looks like every sort of muscle volume is a splotch or an island with a ring around it. You want to avoid that, and the best way to avoid that is to go way too dark on the first pass, to then go middle, and it be really middle on the second, where you're able to go way out to the edges of those volumes. That way, you get these very sort of faint. You can even paint over them with very thin paint and sort of glaze over your shadows, and you'll still end up with shadows that feel fleshy and feel warm, without having to have the middle of those volumes be so blown out, so white, so pale. I painted a second judge. Now this one was a tech judge. He'll be available. A lot of little detail work on him because he's got a lot of kit. He doesn't even have his pistol, his lawgiver. I think he hacks. I think he hacks droids and stuff like that. Go ahead.
I love his yellow gloves. That's what I like about him.
Yeah, I put yellow on him in a lot of spots to try to signal that he's sort of a non-combatant, as much as one can be a non-combatant in Mega City 1. But I actually did paint him as a black guy, which was a new thing, which he's got very little, you sort of only see his chin and you got to look close, but I started with like a burgundy, and then put brown and flesh tones on to get there with what I wanted, because what you're doing when you're painting flesh tones is you're painting it's not that fleshy tones are tan, it's that they're layered, and they've got, like, if you took all your skin off, you'd be red, right?
Yeah.
And so, or pink, but a reddish pink. So then you imagine, like, okay, what if I had just one layer of skin? Well, you'd still be very, very red, right? Think of skinning one's knee. And if you imagine your paint is reversing, like with a time machine, rewinding the skinning of a knee from red to layer, but having that warmth beneath, even if you're going to paint over it, it's still going to, because the paint is not fully opaque, right? It's still going to be there. So that's what's been working for me, and I feel like I've been ending up with people that look quite alive. I also finished my unit of 5 possessed. They're based. They're completed. That was a big deal. They were my test models for my upcoming project of Vashtor the Archiphane. Again, similar kind of thing with the flesh tones, except going for a sort of demonic looking flesh tone that begins as purple. And so I start off with very, very, very dark purple, but then going to the same sort of light skin tones that I use when doing Caucasian skin. So,
yeah.
But even once you do that, there's still those deepest shadows and places that you leave that in this case are purple, and it's like the warmth is coming from this purple, which of course is a cooler kind of thing. And it worked out pretty good. They look good, and I'm happy with them, and I'm excited to use them in an upcoming game. Another thing I did is I got. What's that?
I was just like, you are hobbying amazingly.
I am hobbying my ass off, man. I went and got. Now, this part wasn't even my idea. I have been hobbying with a Rubbermaid table and a folding chair in my living room with my painting light and a fishing tackle box to hold all of my hobby gear. That has been my life for the entirety of my 40K experience. And the wife has decided that she doesn't like a Rubbermaid table with a bunch of overspray all over it and all my junk sitting in the living room. So she decreed that I needed to find me some kind of desk. And she thought, hey, what if you got like an old roll-top desk? And that way you'd be able to maybe open it and close it. So I started looking, and I found one, $100. I called up the homie. Not you. You're welcome. We popped over on New Year's Day, all the way an hour and 20 minutes away. We got this thing, $100. A 250-pound 1940s roll-top oak desk. It was monolithically heavy and hard to move. Ended up having to disassemble some of it to get it into the house. But man, is it nice. I cut a hole in it and got all my cords running through. I've got my airbrush hose running through. So the whole thing can open and close, and all my stuff's inside. My painting light is mounted to the inside because it's like a desk you'd use in a mailroom with all these cubbies and stuff. So I mounted the light to one, and then it's wide enough that my light's on an arm. It'll come down and tuck under the other half of the cubbies, and then the whole thing can be shut.
Wow.
It's so slick, and it's so solid. I hadn't realized how much I had gotten used to painting while floating, so with no anchor points for my elbows beside my body. And now I can put my wrists, my forearms up on the desk, and it doesn't move as the Rubbermaid table would. And it's just better in every way, and it's very comfy. I've got drawers for all my paints. And I feel like that's part of hobbying. Another bit of hobbying I did, because I'm not done yet. The wife also wanted a new entryway shelf system. So I went out to my dad's shop where he has a table saw and built a 4-shelf standing shelf from scratch and a bench with storage underneath. Trimmed it and stuck that. It was made to fit in our entryway. So I'll probably post a picture of that, because if that's not hobbying, I don't know what is.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the people about your aquarium.
Oh, I'm working on an aquarium.
That's hobby too. See? We're like real people now. Close that bits box.
Oh.
On to our main topic, and we will put where the main topic starts and stops in the description of this video, so the people that don't care that we're real people don't have to listen to it. We did recently our least favorite game mechanics, our top 3 worst game mechanics in 40K, in gaming, etc. And some of you got real charged up about what we thought of that and things, and that's great. And
alternating
now
activation gang showed up.
Yeah, the alternating activation gang showed up in in force to tell us all about how great alternating activation is, and it was on my list of things that I don't like. And you guys have not swayed me because I refuse to learn and I don't take on new information no matter what. I'm stuck in my ways. You can decide if that's true or not, because I'm not sure, to be honest. But today, we're going to go the other side of the coin, and we're going to give you our list for the top 3 best game mechanics that we've seen. If you've got your own list or you disagree with these lists, we would like to see your list down in the comments below. I've got 2 OLIs, which is outside looking in. So they don't quite make the list. They're not in any particular order, the OLIs, but they require a mention. So I'll give you my first one. My first OLI is measurement games. I love when you have a tape measure or an actual measuring device to play the game. Basically, if it was things I don't care as much for, it's hex-based or grid-based games. I like it when we take our tape measure and say, all right, it's about 7 around there, and do that, Yeah.
That's kind of I didn't really think about it that way because to me, it's such a fundamental aspect of a lot of games. I didn't consider that much as a mechanic.
Yeah, well, you have that until you get something like Kill Team 2nd Edition where it's like triangle, square, pentagon, and it's like, oh, I really miss 1, 2, 3.
How many squares can your guy move, Shane?
Ugh, don't get me started. Kill Team 3rd Edition, they went back to numbers. Turns out people like numbers.
As God intended.
As God intended. Inches, too. Don't get away from me with those centimeters, you communists. My next OLI is a random table. Ooh, I love a random table. This comes from my penchant for tabletop RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. But I love a random table. What's the game called? The cowboy game we play?
Gunfighter's Ball.
Gunfighter's Ball has got a random table for damn near everything. You shoot somebody.
You get shot?
You get
shoot
shot.
Someone, there's a random table.
Random table of where it hit. Okay, so they got shot. What happened to them? Well, would you believe we got another random table? Thank you, random table. Love it. What's your OLI?
OLI is games that have units fleeing across the table.
Oh, you like that?
I like that, and that's something that I wish was implemented back into 40K or Age of Sigmar, because I don't really like the abstraction of guys dematerializing from the game board.
Well, we don't have that anymore. But
I just... as it had been, I did not like that.
I agree. So there's a distinction that you're making. So when this is not leadership tests, or what did they even call it? Was it leadership? Whatever. In ninth edition,
it was Battle Shock.
Yeah, in ninth edition, you had like Battle Shock, where guys would just dematerialize and air quotes run away. Except they wouldn't run away; they would just disappear or be destroyed, and that was super lame. You're making a distinction. You like them to actually be moving, which I agree is way more fun.
I like when a unit continues to have a board presence in the aspect of fleeing, because that can cause movement interactions, rules interactions of them being on the table, and you might get them back. They might rally the next turn and get everyone back instead of just like poof, they're gone.
Yeah, and then it becomes a whole new decision tree of, okay, so now I've got them back. They didn't run all the way off the board, but now they're out of position. So what do I do with that? Or perhaps they rallied and they're close by something else. So, you can sort of play little musical chairs with an objective or something. It's a way more interesting thing than them just disappearing out of nowhere. I think in 40K, the way we play it now, the way Battleshock functions is fine, and the way that nobody really runs away is also, I think, thematically appropriate, specifically for 40K, because 40K is, lore-wise, such a no-holds-barred fight to the death. Like, I like the idea, the Tyranids aren't going to let you run away, for one.
Yeah.
Like, even if the Space Marines wanted to turn tail and run, those Tyranids are just gonna engulf them and chop them to bits. So I like it. I like that the guard can't run away, because the commissar is just going to shoot them all.
I've had I will say
ahead.
I did have a game in 9th edition where I had a guard unit fail a leadership test, became battle shocked. So I had my commissar shoot one in an attempt to re-roll that battle shock, and I actually got a worse score. I got a worse result on the dice, so even more guys ran after the execution.
That's funny. Yeah, but I like what you're saying. In Old World, it's a huge part of the game, and I think it's great. Let's move on to the top 3. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
My number 3 of best game mechanics is progressive tracks of successes. What the heck is that? The only experience I have in this is in Star Wars Shatterpoint. So in Star Wars Shatterpoint, you've got 2 cards for every unit, which I know is a lot of bookkeeping, but it's not as bad as you think. You've got your abilities card, and then you've got your, what do they call it? Your stance card. Because Star Wars Shatterpoint is not a war game, it's a skirmish game, and it's all heroes. It's all like Jedi and stuff like that. Even when it's clone troopers and things, it's clone troopers and they're sort of immediate underlings is the way you think about it. But what you do is you roll your dice, and the opponent rolls their dice, and then you end up with a pool of successes after their blocks and things of that nature happen. And then you start down a track of this success counts, fills a thing and it does some stuff. It does some damage. And the next success, instead of doing damage, it puts a condition on a guy. And then you have a choice. It splits off, and the next success allows either you to do more damage, or maybe you can reposition, which gives you a whole move. And you resolve all these until you run out of successes. And it's so fun to figure out which way down the track works best for either knocking the guy out that you're fighting, or possibly getting yourself away from the guy that you're fighting, or jumping on a different objective. So many interesting things happen rather than, okay, I hit you 5 times. So it's really cool, man. Progressive tracks of successes, and it works that way on defense too. There's in that particular game, there's a result on the die called expertise, and if you have X number of expertise, then that gives you extra die results as well. So you've almost got like these stat bars that are filling up as you roll the dice and resolve their counter.
Mm-hmm.
That is really fun. And then they give you 2 sides to the stance cards on the Jedi. So you've got a track with all these decisions, and then you flip it over if you want, and you've got a track with all these decisions. It's really, really interesting.
Wow.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is, now this is coming from a different game than we've really talked about, but this is Saga, the Saga battle board system.
Oh yeah, so Saga is a historical war game. We don't call it.
They have some fantasy books with that, so they have a fantasy side of the game, but it's generally a historical war game.
Now, would we call it a skirmish, or is it? It's the model count's much lower than 40K, but it's not quite man on man. I mean, it's units of 5 or 10 guys.
I would say it's a skirmish. I'd say it's a. If 40K and Sigmar are kind of more army skirmish games, then this would count as one as well.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. What I'm saying is you don't play 100 models under any circumstance in Saga, but it's not like Shatterpoint where it's 6 guys versus 6 guys or something. It's good, and I like the battle board. Tell the people about the battle board, because there's also the Saga dice.
Yeah, I'll get into that. The Saga battle board, every army has its own board. And if you think about these kind of like 40K stratagems, you have it populated with different abilities you can use to improve units or cause effects in the game. And there's also places to activate your units on the board. And what you do is you get a handful of Saga dice, and depending on how many units you have, and some other factors determine how many dice you're able to roll, and each dice has different symbols that correlate to the battle board. And when you roll your dice in your turn, at the start of the turn, you then collect all your symbols and try to populate the board with the corresponding symbol to the dice to activate units and abilities. And it's really interesting in that it's like each turn is a new puzzle, because you have to try to figure out, what do I need in this moment to advance my position in the game, while also trying to... It's very much resource management. And as the game progresses, you'll get less and less dice as units fall and are destroyed. So it's kind of like trying to make the best of your situation. It's a very fluid back and forth system,
and it works. It works exactly like the World Eaters table does, where you roll some stuff and then you have so many pairs and so many triples, and that gives you options of what you can spend them on. Except in Saga, it's it's like you can use this pair of results to buff your archers this turn if you want. And it is really good. Yeah, or just activate them, because
that's one thing with the battle board, is it forces you to make hard decisions, because you'll have to make decisions either buffing units or even activating units, because for most of the turns you're not going to be able to activate all your units. So it's about making the best of your situation based on what you can concoct with your dice results.
Yeah,
I think it's a very slick system.
Yeah, I agree. It's just good. Saga is good. At some stage, I've been hobbying my ass off, but I got a lot of irons in the fire of hobby things. At some stage, I want to get like old school square shield Romans to play that stuff and run my big spike line or whatever it is, my phalanx. My number 2 of best game mechanics. I know you guys are going to fight in the comments. It's I Go You Go.
I go, you go.
I go, you go. Hey, it's my turn now. What do you get to do?
I get to just sit here and watch you play the game, I guess.
That's right. And
that's no fun.
Hey, and in a second, it's going to be your turn. You know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to watch you play the game.
What?
I know. I'm not even going to complain. I'm going to sit mostly patiently and watch you play the game, because that's what it is. What I will be doing is thinking about what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. What if someone walks by our table and I can talk to them? Can I do that?
Yeah, you can do that. While I go, you can totally talk to people on the way by. You could do some shopping at the friendly local game store. You could even,
if I get thirsty, I can get a drink.
You could get a drink. You could look at my pretty painted models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I go, you go.
Now that you mention it, that does sound pretty good.
It does, doesn't it? You know what it sounds like? It sounds relaxing.
Yeah.
Sounds
social.
Sounds like a good way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm spending the afternoon that way tomorrow, in fact.
Maybe we need more social in the game.
Maybe. It is something that we play in person with real people, or at least it should be. That's my number 2.
All right. Where are we at? My number 2. All right. For my number 2, we have surge charges.
Ooh, surge charges. So again, do you want a World Eaters army?
I think I either want a World Eaters army or I just want to play Old World.
That could be. It could be a bit of both.
Or they had this in Horus Heresy. So basically, with the surge charge, this is that after a unit attempts to charge a unit for combat, if they fail that charge distance, the unit still moves. And I like this rule a whole lot because it's a double-edged sword. It first off prevents the situation in 40K that everyone has, where you deep strike a unit, you got to make your 9-inch charge, you fail your 9-inch charge, so now they're just stuck there twiddling their thumbs, about to get blasted by las cannons.
Yeah.
But this... So now, if you roll your charge, you fail your charge, you still move up. So you still get a bit of that feel-good moment where, we made a little bit of progress. But I like the counter to that in that if you're going against something that can then get a better charge against you or do shooting reactions to that move in the next turn, I think that's really neat.
Yeah.
Kind of sets you up.
Yeah, I think your example of the deep strike is not the greatest illustration of that sort of feels bad moment. But it's just like the deep strike to 9 and hope you get it. And of course, you invariably are trying to do that on something that is just otherwise absolutely going to destroy you. I don't feel like that's as bad as when you miss like a 6-inch charge just with a unit that's already on the board in the middle of everything, and they just stand there and nothing happens. There's something to the fact that the game state changes every time you do something, right?
Yeah.
Like if you shoot and you miss every single shot, it's like, well, they shot, so now they can't do an action. So the game state has changed, at least in an abstract way. When you need a 5-inch charge and they don't make it and they're just stood out there with their thumb in their self, that's just like, okay, well, never mind. I might as well have just forgotten that unit existed here. It would be nice if they moved, the 2 inches or something. Just, maybe they've walked themselves off of an objective and have not done any killing. Like, that's an unfortunate thing, but I think it's best where every time you do something, the game state changes in some way. My wife will play it with me, but she hates it most of the time, the Judge Dredd miniatures game, because it's from another time, and there are a lot of instances where you go to do something and you fail, and it's like, okay, it didn't work. And she's like, and so that's it? And I'm like, yeah. And in most of our newer games, and this one part of 40K being the odd man out exception, we've done away with that. We've done away with things that just didn't work. Too bad.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the surge charges happen as well. We're to my number 1.
Yep.
Is hit wound save.
No, this was almost my number 1.
I mean, this is such an integral part of all of GW's games, and it has been borrowed by every game that I can think of. I mean, that's not true. I can think of other games, but some version of hit wound save is in nearly every game. And it's because, especially games that you're going to play with like a D6, so a D6 system, a 6-sided dice system. Dungeons & Dragons does not need this as much because it works on a D20, so you've got a lot more resolution in your numbers. So you can set an armor class and you can have this, and you get, you don't get such a, just the fact there's more results means there's more things that can happen rather than a D6 where you, like, if you say 1s are always going to miss and 6s are always going to hit no matter what, then now you only have 4 more results to do anything with, and that's not enough. However, if you want to keep the idea that each individual guy has X amount of shots, say, right? Well, it wouldn't make any sense to roll 35 D20s and then try to count all those for successes and misses. So you have to have smaller dice. D6s is what most everything runs on. And this siphoning system, this filtering system, right? Imagine it as a funnel. And it's not a reverse funnel. This is an actual funnel going down. This isn't a pyramid scheme, I'm saying. You have all your hits. Not all of them are going to hit. You move down to the wounds. Not all the wounds are going to wound. And I also like the idea how those can be different target numbers. Yeah. And then finally, the opponent gets to play a little bit as the third part of the filter. And they get to roll their saves. Their saves are sometimes a fixed thing and sometimes not. So both people get to play, and it's not as silly as some other systems, such as Judge Dredd, where you roll the number of shots. Sometimes it can be as many as 6 shots. And all you need is 1 hit result, which is the most populous one on the die, because I use specialty dice. All you need is 1 hit, and it counts as a hit. And then you move on to the next part. So the sort of accuracy side of the thing is a little bit of it's a waste of time until it isn't. And then it depends on who you've got. Some guys only roll 2 dice to hit, and it's like, well, they can miss. But in 40K, this siphoning system, I think, is so good. And some people get mad about, we're rolling too many dice, and we got re-rolls, it takes forever. And to them, I think, well, you need a bigger dice tray and to do this more often. Right?
Yeah, I think it's a It's a good system. I mean, other games have been using it, using aspects of it. I think it's one of those building blocks that you build games off of that I think is the easiest. They've been doing it for so long. It's the easiest to do. It's a good system.
There's something to the familiarity of just the public with it too. You know, you and I know hit wound save the second we see it, or any variant of it, because we've played so many games with it. And you know, there comes a point where everybody thinks, I want to make a game, and they say, I'm going to make the best game in the world, and I'm going to start from scratch. And I always like to remind people, especially in music with this stuff, no, all human advancement is because we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Beethoven and Mozart figured out a lot of this music stuff so that you don't have to. You can just skip ahead and get to the results that they came up with, right? Same thing with game design. GW has worked this out where we've got a really good system for hitting, wounding, and saving that you can just use. Like there's standing
on the shoulders of Rick Priestley.
That's right. We're standing on the shoulders of Space Marines, and what strong, rounded Henry Cavill-shaped shoulders would you rather be upon? What's your number one, Austin?
So my number one was actually covered earlier, but that's random tables.
Really? Your favorite game mechanic of all is random tables?
I don't know about random tables, but I like tables where I have to consult them for results. Stuff like, for Old World, there's stuff like black powder malfunctions going on. Like, oh, my cannon misfired. Let's see what happens. Stuff like that. I just love the amount of chaos and events they put into the game.
The D16 injury roll and Blood Bowl. Figure out if that guy is out for a half or dead.
Yeah, or I don't know if this is. It's similar to a table, but like when we played the Star Trek game, or when I played it at Game Fest, when your ship got damaged, you'd have to draw cards, which is similar to rolling on a random table, but to see what damaged components are on your ship, you could do that in a table format. But I like something about that activates my mind.
Yeah, I love that. I like the let's see what happened.
Yeah. I got hit. What happened?
I like it when it's a D100 table too, and I'm on the whole, I'm largely against D100 systems because I feel like that there's such thing as too much granularity, and you end up with all these ranges of stuff. And by the time if you break it down, by the time it's done, with exception of like the 100 result and the 0 or the 1 result, like basically every D100 table has got those two super busted results, and then the rest of it might as well be 8 things, and you could have just rolled a D8. But I do like a D100 table when you can say, I haven't, it's too much to keep up with, and so you're like, I have no idea what that result means. Let me go check.
And Games Workshop, please add damage tables back to vehicles. And that I want to see a vehicle get hit by something and then something go wrong with the vehicle potentially. I want to see, my Lehman Russ got hit with a las cannon. Roll on the table. Actually, one of the tread wheels got blown off, so now my vehicle is slower. I want to see things happen because of the damage. I don't want just like arbitrary 2 wounds off my tank. Okay, well, what does that mean? I want to see damage happen. My engines got hit. I'm going to have to try to deal with that. I want different things to happen and bring back facings.
I don't know about facings, but I'm with you on damage tables. But we're all out of time. That went quick. Let us know your best game mechanics that you've ever seen and put them in the comments so we can read them next week when we open up the Vox channel. I've been Shane. That's Austin. Don't forget to
stay fanatical.